right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm prepping this wall so that I can start tiling it. Well, before I end up tiling it, I gotta add red guard, but this spot right here, where this portion that I'm going through, is just mortaring it. So we already added the tape to all the joints. Now we're adding the mortar. That way we have a solid bed that when we have to tile this area, that we're good. So this part of the wall was concave. It's hard to see now because I've already filled this particular area in. But I want to go around and I want to make sure that when I put my taping knife on the wall, I'm not seeing large amounts of light pass through. So on the side that I'm on, I can see the shadow that's casted, right? As you can see, I'm on the side where the shadow's casted, so I can see the light shining through on this end. And I'm just going around and I want to see if I see, you see how it's flexing like this, where it's bold? I want to make sure that there's very little light passing through. By doing that, when it's time for me to tile this wall, I know that I'll have a flat wall. If I'm seeing a lot of bowing and flexing in this wall, when I go to put those tiles on, it might look perfect up until this point, and then when I get to this point, all the new tiles that I introduce to this wall, they might be more forward at the top of the tile, and then like more flat lined up with the rest of the tiles at the bottom. So in order for them to all have that same sheen, all approach that wall at the same angle, I gotta prep this wall to make sure that everything is as flat as possible. This is the only time that I can do this in this process. I guess the other time, if I could have been able to do anything, was when I was putting these 2x4s in, or when the frame was putting the 2x4s in. But he kind of spread this portion out a little bit wider than what I wanted. And now as a result, I don't have support in an area like this where I would want it. So I'm getting more flex here than I'm getting here. I'm not getting too much flex on this side, but this area where there's a huge gap between the studs, where it's more than 16 inches, I'm having problems. So I would say the first step is making sure that when your framer is doing the walls, that you have them at least 16 inches apart or no more than 16 inches apart. And then if that is a case where it is more than that, you want to start filling that area up. And I'll just show you real quick. So I'm using this 6-inch blade just to apply. All right, so even though I went over this, I'll just add some more. So I'm filling this area up. I'm just applying with this one. All right, so it could look sloppy right now. I don't care. That's not what that is for. I want to make sure I'm really in there. I really want to press this onto the wall. I don't want this sitting loosely. All right, so then I'll take the 14-inch blade and clean the 6-inch blade, throw it back in there. Now I'm at the point where I'm getting ready to clean this joint off. So what I'll do is I'll put my 2 fingers, right? My middle finger, my index finger behind, and then I have these 3 fingers oriented like this. And the reason why I'm going with this larger blade is I don't want to have to approach the top of this joint and then approach the bottom because I'm gonna get a ridge in it. If I can go over and this goes from the top to the bottom of this whole entire joint or this area that I'm addressing, then I don't have to worry about multiple passes. Ideally, in one pass, I can cover everything. All right, so you're not gonna see a bunch of lines based on the way that I just went over that. All right, one of the things I'll try to address here is how thick it is at the top. I'll scrape it off, throw that back in the bucket. Then I can use my 6-inch blade and I'll hold my index finger at the top of the blade rather than have it in the center of the blade. And that just feathers that edge off. That way I don't have a whole bunch of material sitting at the top. And you can just see how it looks on my blade. When I go over the top like that, it's only taking material off from that area. I'm gonna go back over the joint just to get rid of some of the extra material. And that's closer to what I desire as far as filling in that gap in the finish that I'm looking for. I'm still gonna put thin set on this wall, so there is still some room to improve anything that I'm currently at, but I just do this in advance. That way I got a solid foundation, so when I do start putting my tiles, the last thing I wanna do is start trying to prep this again. So if I do this in advance, I'll be happy with the result that I get.